Hello everyone, we are a group of C first year students. My name is Lainil Azi Aguilar.
Zoril Amores,
Krisha Zaraga.
Search Lateral Paul, and today we will be showing you step by step on how to make this hand wheel on AutoCAD. This is CAD support.
So what are our objectives for today? Well, in this instructional video, we hope to effectively teach you all on how to construct a detailed and accurate 2D model representation of a hand wheel by sharing with you everything that we have learned so far in our Introduction to Computer-Aided Drafting lectures. If you are new to AutoCAD, there is no need to worry as we will be here to guide you on in every step of the way. For our more experienced viewers out there, this would just serve as your review and we still encourage you to try and draft with us. So before we start, let's review the following AutoCAD commands and properties that would be heavily utilized in making the hand wheel. First, we have the circle command or its shortcut C, which allows us to create circles or arcs typically by specifying our desired center point and radius or diameter. Next, we have the line command with its shortcut L, which produces straight line segments when we supply the start and end positions. And finally, we have the trim command or simply TR, which lets you remove undesired parts of objects by trimming them using a cutting edge or boundary, leaving you with clean and precise figures. Special mention to join and polar array commands, as we would also be using it later on. So, let's say that you were tasked to create this specific hand wheel. What we first need to do is take note of the required measurements to ensure that we produce what is given. Once you're ready, we now open our AutoCAD application and click on New on the left side of the screen, which leads us to our drafting space. This is where we will be drafting our figure. If you take a look at our reference wheel again, you may notice that this text here shows certain conditions that some parts of our objects should possess. For example, our guidelines here are said to be centered at 0.00 line thickness, and that it should be red. These conditions are what we call layer properties, which refer to a feature in AutoCAD that allows you to give unique properties and settings to individual layers inside your drawing. Each layer can have its own unique properties, such as color, line type, line weight, transparency, and plot style.
that is what we would officially start to work on first. To create this, we first click on Layer Properties, which is located in the Layers panel in the ribbon. Once you click Once you click that, the Layer Properties Manager would pop up, which is where we will be able to customize our layer. Here, you can see the default layer which is already there. To make a new one, we click on this button, the sheets with the color yellow, or we can right click here and simply press on New Layer. You can name your layer to anything that you want, but for now, let's call this one Guidelines, as it is what we would be using it for. So now, we can customize it according to the conditions of our reference photo. So we double click here to change certain properties. We know that the color for our guideline should be red. So we set this to red. Next, our line type should be center. So we double click on it and load the center line type, then click OK. It is also said that the guideline should have a 0.00 line thickness. So we can go ahead and set that here. Now that's done, we can go ahead onto the next layer, which is for the inscribed circles, since they share the same condition. So we just be repeating what we did earlier. Make a new layer. We name this one inscribed circles, and then follow the instructed properties. It should be red, hidden line type, and a 0.00 line thickness. Okay, good. Next, our third and final layer would be for our largest, outermost circle. So we name this one Big Circle. It should be white, continuous, and should have a 0.70 millimeter line thickness. We can now actually close this since we're done creating our layers. And we now head on to making the hand wheel itself. This drop down menu here is where we can choose the layer that we would need to use throughout this session. First up, with our guidelines layer in use, we type L and press enter to create two intersecting lines segments. The intersecting point of which is what we should use as the center of our hand wheel. So we now create our first line with length. Let's say 30. We can choose any starting point, then we direct our mouse to the right and type 30. Press enter to create such a line. Then we click the escape button to release the command. Make sure that your ortho mode is enabled to ensure that the line that you create are straight. You can do so by pressing F8 or simply clicking on this button. Next, we create another line again, but this time from the midpoint of our line segment, which can be automatically seen if you enable this feature and hover your pointer at the line. We create the top half of our vertical guideline, which has a length of 15, then the bottom half, which also has a length of 15.
Next, with our big circle layer in use, we type C and press to enter and create the first circle. We can click on the intersecting point of our guidelines to indicate our center point. And here, we need to specify a radius, which, if you have checked the reference again, should equal to 9.50. So we type there and press enter. And now, we have a circle that matches that condition. Next up, we now make our smaller inner circle. So we type C again and press enter. We want our centered point to be the same with our outermost circle, so we hover our pointer to its center. Then click here, and if we check on our reference again, we are actually given a diameter value. Instead of typing down the value directly to the first time, we click D and then enter to indicate that we should be putting a diameter value instead of radius. So now we type 16, then enter. Next, the circles which we have diameters of length 6 and 4 respectively, we just repeat what we have did a moment ago. So type C, enter, click the same center point and D and enter to indicate a diameter value. Then type 6, then enter. So we repeat this again, but this time the diameter should be set to 4. Now that's done, we are now to make the organic shapes design that cover the hand wheel. So to do this, first we need to make an inscribed circle first. So to start, we need to create a line segment that spans from the center of the outermost circle down to its circumference. So basically, its radius. Why? Because the midpoint of this line segment would serve as the center for our two inscribed circles later on. So we type L, then enter, click on the center as starting point, then type 9.50 as it lengths. Then enter. Now that's done. We now create a circle with 9.50 diameter and the radius of 3.50 respectively from its midpoint. So from this point on, we now be creating the smallest circles in the figure. We would be utilizing TTR in order to make them. So TTR or tangent-tangent radius mode is used when you want to create circles that are tangent between two existing objects. So tangent meaning it touches such an object at one point. So for instance, for our first circle, it should be tangent to this arc and this arc. So based on our reference, so now we type C, then enter for our circle command. From here, we can simply just click on the turn radius button found on our command bar. So we can type T and press enter for each shortcut.
Once we enable TTR, we specify our first tangent, which is here, our second tangent, which is here, and then we specify our radius, which, if you check our reference again, we are only given a diameter value of 2. Since we know that the diameter is just twice the radius, we know that our radius value here would be 1. So we input 1 and press enter. And here we have our first TTR circle. For the next two circles, we just have to repeat what we performed a moment ago. Type C and enter, enable TTR, determine your tangents based on your reference photo, then input radius 1. Now that you're done with the circles, we would now begin trimming the following unnecessary objects. So type in TR, then enter to enable the trim command. You can click the irrelevant objects one by one to erase them, or you can long press then slide to erase them at once. So if you trim something you weren't supposed to, just simply undo your actions by pressing Ctrl Z. So once you're done trimming, you should be left with these arc-like figures, which we would then join together as one for more efficient work. We just simply select such items, then type J for the join command, then press enter. If you click on it, they would be selected as one object rather than multiple connecting segments. From here, we would now be applying arrays, more specifically the polar array command, which allows you to create multiple copies of an object or a set of objects arranged in a circular pattern around a specified center point. So the set of objects that we would want to array would be these two. So we type in AR, the shortcut command for array, press enter, select the two objects, then press enter again, choose polar, then pick the intersection point of our guidelines again as our center for our array. So once you click on it, it would then produce a pattern similar to our reference photo. So we would just need then to adjust the number of items pattern as instructed, which in this case is 5. So we can click on the items button on the command bar, or we can type I, then press enter, whichever one is fine. So once items are selected, we input 5, then press enter. We can now exit the array command as we now have successfully created the hand wheel from scratch. All that's left to do now is to bring back the inscribed circles and the TTR circles, which we can easily do since we have already made it before. This time, however, we would now be using their designated layer. We then remove this line segment and we are done. Congratulations on making your first hand wheel. We hope that you learned a lot during this activity. Thank you for watching CAD Support.